Welcome to the Cult Classic Horror Show. Every week, you can have the conversations you've always wanted to have about the films you love.
Shut up!
We're gonna get you. Not another peep. Kinda
Get rid of your distractions and prepare yourself.
Fold and lock your door. 5, 6, got crucifix.
You got a big surprise coming to you. You're not going anywhere.
All right, welcome everybody to the Cult Classic Horror Show. I'm your host, Danny Bonin.
Welcome, everyone. Scotty Bonin here along with you guys. Welcome back.
We are the
Blood Brothers. Yes.
I always talk first, I guess.
Yeah, that's
Habit.
right. I'm used to that. And we said that in sequence this time, as opposed to last time it was a little off.
Yeah, I sort of meant to do it last time.
Oh, yeah.
The second time, anyways.
Well, I didn't really get it right in the same sequence as you did, so we had to do it like 3 or 4 times to get it right. Anyways.
All right.
Welcome, guys.
So here we are. We're finally on to a new subject.
Gosh, we are done with Friday the 13th, finally.
We are done with Friday the 13th, moving on. And, of course, now we are into George Romero.
George A. Romero
I guess
stuff.
I don't want to call it month in case we go over a month or less than a month, or I want to get away from the month.
Yeah.
But we'll call it George A. Romero themed section of the show.
Segment.
That's better.
We kind of went
Segment's better.
away from the month, devoting a movie to 1 month.
Yeah.
Because Friday the 13th took longer to do all of those throughout the month of March because the fans wanted to do all of them, and we actually might have an interview coming up in the next couple of episodes.
Or we could have done it already because this episode is...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's being pre-recorded.
That's right. That's right.
So actually, as you listen to this episode, if we use it this week, we'll just be here chilling. But if we use it in the next 2 weeks, then while you're listening to this, we're probably laying on the beach in Cabo.
Sorry, guys.
We had a little 2-week vacation, getting some of these episodes done and launched. So
I'll be drinking Corona for you guys.
yeah, yep.
So yeah, we're gonna whip these out, and we're starting off with Night of the Living Dead.
Yes, Night of the Living Dead, probably, obviously, the most classic George Romero movie.
Yeah, the cult classic.
The
original, 1968. This and it was a cult classic, and it's only appropriate to have it on the Cult Classic Horror Show.
Well, yeah.
Fucking A.
So, let's get into it.
So yeah, it's exciting.
So, Night of the Living Dead. George Romero was 27 years old when he filmed this. College dropout. Grew up in the Bronx, but moved to Pittsburgh, so he was living in Pittsburgh. Prior to this, though, at 23, he did start a small film production company called The Latent Image. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm getting used to these
Latent?
I'm getting used to these new foam things on top of our microphones.
We have new foam microphones. It smells kind of good. I think the old microphones smell better without it.
We put foam over the microphone, with the foam cover, because my whole house is wood floor, and we want to cut down on echo, but yeah.
Softens the sound a little bit.
But now I can't smell the new microphone smell of the old under this foam here.
I miss the old microphone smell. I did that mainly throughout most of the podcast here, is smelling the microphone. Now you guys don't get to hear my during the
I think
episode.
you can still hear that.
Okay,
but you
good.
probably won't smell it anymore because it doesn't smell. I mean, it's decent.
Yeah, it still
not
smells
too bad.
pretty good. Yeah.
I don't know.
Not as good as the fresh metal smell.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I love smelling like everything. So if you ever see me on like the YouTube where we put our episodes on, you'll see me smelling things and stuff too. And I'm looking at you right now. You can see me. See,
Scotty smells everything. Well, you know what? It's sort of bled into because I smell stuff now, and when we have our cousin smells stuff, and so whenever Scotty opens something or gets something new, he has to smell it for some reason.
Like
not
new
even
shoes.
new, not even something new.
Yeah.
You just smell everything. It's sort of gross sometimes, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it is like dirty, smelly shoes or like smelly socks. Sometimes you just got to smell those things to make sure that they're not too smelly. So
I don't think you have to. No, he'll be like, "Oh dear God, smell my shoes." I'm like, "No, I'll fucking smell your shoes."
Then you'll see me in the corner, like secretly smelling them again.
or we'll be at my family's theater in the dressing room, and we're like, someone left some stinky ass shoes in here. And he'll start hunting around, smelling all the shoes. Like, oh, I found it. Here, smell it. Here, I found it. Like, no, I don't want to fucking smell that.
Sometimes bad smells are, addicting to smell. Good smells are the best, like a new book smell or a new magazine. But sometimes those bad smells, like gasoline too, and gasoline's kind of a medium.
I don't know.
It's in the middle there, but yeah.
I think we both agreed that one of the best smells on earth is new plastic pool floaty smell.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Brand new plastic pool floaty, like you buy your kid.
Yeah, like you buy your kid one of those those float wings or whatever, or even a floaty raft for the pool, and you open it fresh and you smell the creases.
Oh man, God. That is just the best.
It's just like crack.
We had a song name for our death metal band called New Plastic Pool Floaty Smell.
Yeah, we had some funny names.
That was a good song name.
Yeah, so that, and I remember, I don't smell the smell these days because I don't get them anymore, but new pajamas, new like superhero pajama smell.
Oh yeah.
Back when we were like 10 years old and we had
new pajama smell, yeah.
And we had like
Batman pajamas or something.
Pajama with a graphic on it, maybe a cape, the Velcro's on the back. Yeah. They always had the best smell.
It's like the graphic that's on my shirt right now, like the brand new smell of the graphic.
But it doesn't really happen on just shirts. It was always just those old. It was the pajamas for some reason.
Old school pajamas. The kids used to wear. They might still wear them.
Anyways,
let's get back into this. Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah. So I was saying that at 23, George Romero had a film company called The Latent Image, and they had, I guess him, however many people there were, they had done short films for Mr. Rogers' show.
Gotta love the Mr. Rogers show.
You guys remember Mr. Rogers? I used to watch that when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, the best kids show ever.
And his little city,
but his little city that he designed and his songs.
Then the train goes into the other land, and they do like different skits in there. But anyways, so I guess they did some short. George Romero had been producing some of those short little films for Mr. Rogers, like where he goes to the dentist or all his little adventures and everything like that. So they had experience doing that, and then they got into commercials, mainly beer commercials, and no one had really done beer commercials yet, and so they were helping to pioneer that industry. Of course, now beer commercials are all over the place.
Yeah, but the beer commercial that they did, it was like Iron City beer, the best tasting beer ever. And now, like, throw me an iron. That was like the big thing back then, and Iron City beer is nowhere to be found now.
Well, I thought he said maybe they're still around.
Maybe it's
Pittsburgh.
Maybe it's like iron.
I think these were all local things. Like they were all Pittsburgh local commercials.
Yeah.
Mr. Rogers was filmed in Pittsburgh, and they have the joke that anyone who worked in film, anyone in the business in Pittsburgh, even to this day, probably had something to do with Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
Back then. Whether they were filming him or just getting raped by him.
Exactly.
I always thought he was sort of creepy.
He was creepy. His little songs and stuff. Yeah. Of course, George Romero was originally from the Bronx, New York. Yeah. And then he moved to Pittsburgh. Grew up in the Bronx and then moved to Pittsburgh.
So he had originally, I was getting in the movie, he'd originally written a script for some kind of, I don't know, love story, and I forgot, did you write down the name of it?
Yeah, Wine of the Fawn.
Wine of the Fawn.
Like whining, not like wine you drink, but like wine, like a kid whining. Wine of the Fawn.
And this is going to be some sort of weird love story set in the Middle Ages or something, and he had wrote a script for it and was trying to get backing or investors for it, and there was no support whatsoever. And so they had to go a little more commercial and ended up going with the horror genre.
Yeah, they're like, well, let's go to horror.
And then he wrote the script for Night of the Living Dead along with another guy, but the inspiration, he said, came from the book I Am Legend by Richard Matheson, which of course is, they made it into a movie with Will Smith and all that.
Yeah.
But it's a really good book.
But he got the concept from that and
was I don't know, was slightly inspired by it,
Yeah.
and used that. So
and one of the other things during the 60s, 67 in particular, when this movie was produced and written and they filmed it then, that was a time where riots were happening in New York and Detroit and even the Pittsburgh area.
Yeah.
So that kind of inspired him, the rioting of people going crazy and stuff. It's like, hey, let's have the Living Dead going crazy and going after people and this and that.
Yeah.
And it was kind of that was a crazy time, the 60s.
But I wouldn't say that he had any kind of political intention for this film.
Yeah, there was no politicalness.
A lot of people are like, oh, well, he's saying this with that, or he's saying this with that, and a lot of people say it about films in that era, but they were just making a horror movie. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, that's all they were doing, and a low budget horror movie, might I add, too.
Yeah,
just like Evil Dead. Of course, this was
way before
Evil Dead.
Yeah. So then, in order to, he's inspired. He wrote the script. He's inspired by I Am Legend. Wrote the script, and then came up with a new film company just for this movie called Image 10. And you see that first thing that pops up on the credits when you're watching the movie. They formed it. Had 10 partners formed it, and they all pitched in like $600 and just started shooting.
Yeah.
$600 each, 10 people. That was enough to rent the farmhouse, buy film stock, and just start going. And then it's just crazy. The total budget was around $114,000
for the whole movie.
Ended up being for this project, and so it was amazing how much help they got with. A lot of the people playing zombies were just family, friends, or past clients of the commercial film production company had the Leighton Image. So you had really people that weren't actors just coming out to, I'll be a zombie.
I'll be a zombie. I'll slink around and walk around and act like I'm dead.
Yeah, well, it was a different time back then because now you're forced to pay everybody who's involved in anything like that. Also, another thing they used was...
I'd be in Night of the Living Dead for free, though.
Yeah, why not?
That'd be badass.
And one of the other things they got away with, too, because of the times, was using the actual police force to come out and... Literally, they were just filming, and so when you see at the end there, they have the police come and the dogs and everything, and that's really, they just called the police, and they're like, we're filming out here, would you guys mind, coming out with a couple dogs?
And they brought their canine units and their dogs and stuff.
Yeah, and walking around and taking part in the movie, and they're like, yeah, sure, we'll be out there. And
there was actually a woman that you see in the movie that's butt naked, and she agreed to go naked, too, as a zombie.
From behind.
Yeah, from behind. Yeah. But you see her butt, so... But yeah, that was a time, where you just had to get everyone that you could get because you needed a ton of zombies.
Well, just low budget, and also they used the helicopter you see was the local news station's helicopter, and they agreed to let the cameraman ride in it to get some aerial shots, and so it all just worked out. It was a real communal effort.
Yeah, which is great, which made it a great movie. It was. Sometimes it was non-actors and stuff, but it was good to have all that help from all those people.
And speaking of people, low budget, a lot of people being involved, also a lot of people had multiple jobs. A lot of people that were acting were also in lighting, were also sound, were also doing all these other things. So John Russo was the co-writer with George Romero. He can be seen in it as a zombie, for sure. And it was him that... no, it wasn't. It wasn't.
It was also Marilyn Eastman was the wife of Mr. Cooper, and she was also the makeup artist, too, in it.
Uh-huh.
And she did some of the behind-the-scenes, building of the set and stuff, too. And, of course, her the guy that played Mr. Cooper, which was Carl Hardman, he, helped... What did he help with again? He helped with the
I don't know if I remember.
He helped with the set too and building of stuff and whatnot. So everyone the actors had a hand of doing other things besides just acting, which is nowadays it's unheard of, But yeah, so that everyone had a hand in everything, which was awesome.
Yep. Yeah, they had people. One of the actors built a bridge because there's a stream in the way of getting to the farm.
Yeah.
So just built a bridge that actually a car could drive over with his hands. Built this wooden bridge.
Vince Stravinsky was the guy's name.
And even the guy playing the sheriff, he was just a steel worker, a mill worker at the time that they had come down. The guy interviewing him is a local, or he was a host of a horror show, a local horror show.
Bill Cardill.
Yeah, and the guy
he was like known as like Bill, like Chili Bill, and he was like a famous host for his first horror show and stuff.
The guy playing the newscaster was an actual newscaster in the area and wrote his own copy for that. So they basically gave him the situation, told him what was going on, and he wrote the newscasts and read them for that. So that was pretty cool too.
That'd be cool if you could write your own lines. I mean, he was obviously a newscaster, and Chuck Craig was his name, so he knew what the news says and how they would put it in format and stuff. So that, and he got George A. Romero was saying he got most of the airtime, because he was always on the TV, their little TV that they were watching in that abandoned farmhouse.
He's on it a lot.
Which they did live in that farmhouse during the filming.
Yep.
So they lived in it, and the little stream that was down the way. That's how they washed up and stuff, and so it was down and dirty. Then they went through some hard times there. Yeah,
you'll notice where two guys or zombies, quote unquote, catch on fire when they're getting the truck. They actually just lit those guys' clothes on fire. No protection or anything. The two guys agreed to it. Just said, yeah, we'll just, if it gets hot, we'll drop and roll.
Yeah, drop and roll.
Yeah, you can light me on fire.
They actually lit them on fire. Poured whatever kerosene.
I don't know what they did, if they poured anything, but they did light them on fire. I know that much.
It was actually John Russo and then Bill.
Yeah, that's what I was searching for.
Bill Heinzman, which was the zombie at the very beginning of the movie, and he later came to the farmhouse too. But yeah, they agreed. Yeah, you could light me on fire. There was no stunt doubles back then. It was just them doing it.
Well, for that film, anyways. Yeah. I'm sure there were stunt doubles back then, but and. Another way that one of the actors pitched in one of the zombies is he was a meat packer, brought in real entrails from animals. So when they're eating the guts and it's all real stuff.
Real cow liver, real intestines. And
George couldn't believe how committed some of these volunteer fill-in zombies were. They're like, oh, we'll take a bite out of that. Yeah, we'll eat that. Why not?
It's like reminiscing to the... Revenant of DiCaprio doing it now. They're doing it back in '68. Come on now. But yeah, and actually the newscaster played by Chuck Craig actually played a zombie too. So there was actors that played, and Marilyn Eastman, which played Mr. Cooper's wife, played the zombie that ate the bug off the tree.
Yeah.
And then Chuck Craig was the newscaster, and he is actually the guy that was eating the intestines that was supposedly Tom's body that blew up in the truck with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
My jacket's caught in the door. Ah, fuck, your jacket's caught? Are you kidding me?
And then it causes the death of both of them.
Yeah. I hate that. I hate it when that happens. Even the beginning of the movie when she drives away from the zombie and crashes into the tree. Are you fucking kidding me?
Just leave your damn jacket.
Yeah, God. Leave your jacket. Get out of there.
Oh, what's that?
What is that sound?
That came fast.
God.
Wow.
God, you always come fast.
Oh, God. I walked right into that one.
Yes, he did.
Wow. Since we're only talking about one movie, we're already to the horror halftime.
Goodness sakes.
Yeah, a little bit shorter of an episode here.
He's a little bit shorter, of an episode.
That didn't work at all.
Yeah.
The come fast, I'll give you that one.
Okay.
But no, that last one didn't work whatsoever.
Oh, man, come on now.
We're on to a new segment, Night of the Living Dead. So we're just going to start with the simplest first, what we always do. So your assignment for the horror halftime, in order to win Horror Freak of the Week and some free stuff from us, is to simply create your funniest, best Night of the Living Dead meme. I don't care what it's about, what's in the picture. It just has to be from Night of the Living Dead, the original black and white 1968 Night of the Living Dead. Create a meme, post it on our Facebook page, facebook.com/cultclassichorror, or Instagram, tag us at cultclassichorror. And if we like yours best, we'll send you over some free stuff.
I know it's an old movie, guys, but you can find those pictures.
Yeah.
Post some cool quotes on there.
Grab a screenshot, grab a meme, and throw it on the website.
Yeah,
so
you gotta love some free shit, and you never know. We might even be sending out some Night of the Living Dead apparel. We'll see.
We'll see about that. So, all right, that concludes the horror halftime. And actually, I didn't. No, we're good. I didn't have we don't have a horror freak of the week to announce right now since we're sort of pre-recording here.
That's right. We're getting these done with.
So you can always look at who wins these things on Facebook. We have a photo album actually of our horror freaks of the week. We have most of them in there, and we'll post them on the page too. So if you're ever curious what people won or what they did to win, then just check it out. Check us out on Facebook.
Yeah, it's all right there, guys.
All right. So jumping right back into this. Where was I?
You know what I loved about? Sorry, this is just off the cuff. What I loved about this movie, we're always saying the music makes it.
Yeah.
Just the way it starts with the creepy music that's happening, and it's like the old like trumpets and like the horn sounds and stuff, and then it's like the creepy music, and you get that like wavy sound that the music's going in and out, which is like kind of like a back in the day. That's how they did it. Yeah. But it just lets you know that the movie's going to be creepy right off the bat. That really drawed me in too. So that's something that any movie can do. Which we're talking about Friday the 13th, The Shining, which have great soundtracks as well.
It did have a good soundtrack, and it wasn't cheesy or anything, and it had some good sound effects too. Although I mean, it's old, it was low budget. It's you could say it's missing some sound effects where the guy hits his head on the gravestone. It's a little weird. And
you hear like a clunk.
Where the guy's chopping the clay hand of the zombie that's coming through the window.
Which George Romero made that hand, that clay hand.
Tried to make it hollow to have blood in it, but that obviously there's no blood that comes out.
Tom's chopping away at it.
Yeah. Missing a little bit of maybe some sound effects there. And when they're fighting, there's a lot of...
those punch hits.
Yeah.
So but there was some cheesy sound effects and
But overall, the score it was a good tone. They did a good job with it, especially with what they had. Another thing that is sort of surprising when you watch this movie and you know where it comes from. It's 1968. There's all this racism going on, the race riots happening, and you have this black character. He's the main guy, and it's just never mentioned in the movie or never acknowledged that, that it's a society with that going on at the moment, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
And the way that George really explains that is that they had written the script. They wrote it not for a black man, not for anyone in specific. They just wrote the script. That's how it was. Mm-hmm. They ended up casting Dwayne Jones, and they didn't. He just happened to be black, and they weren't going to change the script just because of that.
And he was a great actor, and he took it serious, and so he was perfect for the part. He was the hero. And like you're saying, you see during that time, you see a white blonde girl walk into his house, and the black man saves her, and people would have noticed that. But for this film, they didn't, because it was just a crazy, it was just a freaky film, and it was that was the atmosphere back then. But obviously,
obviously, people watching the film noticed, but the characters, he didn't cause the characters to notice.
Yeah, the characters, like that.
And so, if you think about it, you have this leading black man who punches the girl in the face, and shoots the white guy, and then gets shot in the head at the end by this sort of mob of, it almost looks like a lynch mob, even though it's not what they are. But so it was sort of turned out to be this awkward thing at the time when it wasn't really even intended that way. Mm-hmm. They just wrote the script, happened to cast a black guy, and then everything played out after that.
And it was funny. George A. says that Dwayne Jones was really a sensitive guy and didn't like violent acts and stuff. So they're having him, beating zombies with a crowbar and shooting them and punching the girl and stuff and slapping the girl, whatever. But he really got in character and did it, and he was phenomenal.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Which most of these characters aren't living now. They're all like Dwayne Jones has passed away a few years ago. And a lot of the actors in this movie are not alive right now. They're dead.
What are you trying to say?
Well, I was trying to like come up with a clever thing of they're not the Living Dead something something.
No,
but I couldn't think of anything clever.
They're
so
just
they are
dead.
dead.
Yeah. So,
of course, George Romero is still alive, and so is like Judy O'Day that played Barbara. She's still alive. The little girl that killed her mom and ate her dad's arm is still dead or still alive.
George was also in the movie too, though. He played the reporter.
That's right. Trying
to question the government officials as they're getting into the car or whatever. So, little cameo appearance there.
Yeah.
Pulled a Rob Shea.
Yeah, Rob Shea and all the Freddys.
I don't even think we mentioned the last episode that Rob Shea was the principal in Freddy vs. Jason.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, remember that?
He was in Freddy vs. Jason.
Poked his head in real quick as the principal. I'm just gonna say that from now on. When like a director cameos, that he just, even though Rob Shea never was the director, he was just the executive, but he just had to be in every.
Yeah, he's like, I need to be
slip
in the
his
movie.
head and everything. So.
Like Sam Raimi is in Army of Darkness too. Oh, and he's in Evil Dead.
Yeah, and he's in Evil
That's
Dead.
right.
So we could call it a Sam Raimi, but
yeah.
But I don't know. Anyway, so we talked about. Oh no! One other thing I wanted to mention too was Russ, the way they got the sound mixing done, and
oh yeah,
which one was Russ? Was
Russ Striner?
Yeah, he was in it, right? He was the brother.
Yeah,
in the beginning,
he was the brother in the very beginning of. Yeah, he was. Yeah.
So Russ,
Barbara's brother.
Russ played had the famous line, "They're coming to get you, Barbara," and they were on such a low budget that in order to get the sound done, Russ challenged the owner of a mixing studio, or sound studio, to get the sound mixed. He said, "Well, I'll challenge you to a game of chess, and if I win, then you have to do the sound for us.
for Night of the Living Dead."
Yeah, and he won, so they got the sound done.
So they were doing crazy shit.
I'm sure they would have come up with another way, but that just gives you an idea of some of the antics they had to go through to get this thing done.
And that was after the film ended in 1967, and they had to get edited still, and which George A. Romero did. He did the editing, he did the cinematography, he did the
and
directing,
directed it, obviously, co-wrote it as well.
So they had to do all this stuff at the end of it. Which, speaking of the end of the movie was kind of the most the most emotionless ending.
Emotionless ending
you'll see in a movie. Just it ended, then you see the credits coming up, and there's clips, and it's just like this scary music, and you're just kind of like, you have this unsettled feeling, like, oh my god, they just killed the hero, and so that's it, and which was done on purpose to make you get that feeling. That's why it was so good.
Yeah, well, and when George Romero went with Russ, right? When they went to go get distribution, or was that with
John Russo? I think.
Oh, it was with Russo. That's right. You get Russ and Russo mixed up.
Yeah.
So everything was wrapped, and they loaded the film in the trunk, drove to New York to try to get distribution, and they kept running into problem. Not kept, but a lot of people said they were on board, and then they ended up not distributing it.
Columbia,
and
especially
Columbia was one of them, and then
Columbia was going to do it, and they were going to do it.
No, it was the other company, I thought.
If they changed the end. Oh, yeah, it was the
other company. I thought it was the other company.
American International.
Yeah, American International was going to distribute it. But they demanded that they change the ending because it was too dark. And George Romero just said, no, forget about it.
Forget about it. This is our movie.
So they ended up hiring someone to find distribution for the movie. And then it ended up being distributed by, what was the name of the company?
I didn't write it down.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It was a smaller company.
Yeah, it wasn't a big company, but basically got him into the grindhouse theater scene, and it wasn't even an opening movie. It was later in the night, and so it originally opened to horrible reviews. I mean,
October 1st, 1968 is when it first opened.
The critics were tearing it apart.
Angrily, reviews.
Yeah, they just... unprofessional acting, just nothing there,
Yeah.
And until it finally started playing, it got moved into the matinees, where mostly the kids come to see. The children were coming to see matinee horror flicks because most of them were fine for children.
Can you believe that? Like your parent, you're like, here, I'll drop you off at this movie to see a horror flick.
Yeah.
But like you said, most of them were like kid-friendly horror movies, and then this Night of the Living Dead gets plopped into the slot of the matinee kids movies.
Yeah.
And keep going. You were gonna say
no,
something
I was just saying that It really took a stride when it went to those theaters, and the kids were like in tears running out
of the theaters in tears.
Roger Ebert happened to see it
during one of the matinees.
Yeah, and actually gave it a good review and saying, basically good, saying that these kids were running away with tears because they were not expecting this, and it was a terrifying movie.
Yeah,
and
he said it was terrifying. Kids seeing kids killing their mother and eating flesh off bone.
You can see what they're eating. And then his review made it into Reader's Digest, and that's when it started to gain some momentum. Mm-hmm. You know, they started to blow up a little bit. And then it sort of really blew up in Europe right after that.
Yeah.
You know, people were saying...
more terrifying than Hitchcock's Psycho. And there was rave reviews in Europe about it, and then it blew up.
So then it blew up even more domestically because everyone domestically was like, "Oh, well, if the snooty, it's getting all of this praise in Europe and all these artsy magazines and stuff, then maybe we should take another look at this film."
Yeah,
and that's when it sort of blew up. But they did fuck up because they
fucked up.
They changed the name. Originally, when they were shopping around for distribution, the movie was called Night of the Flesh Eaters. And it had a little copyright symbol next to it.
C with the circle around it.
Yeah. When the distributors renamed it Night of the Living Dead, they didn't put the copyright symbol.
They just fudged it. They forgot to put it in there.
And so it became public domain, and they didn't get any licensing rights or any rights from anything that happened overseas. And so they lost tons of money from any showings, any sales, anything in Europe, that came out.
Europe... For all the royalties for it, Europe kept the money for all of that.
Yeah.
And so really, to this day, there's no record of actually how much the movie made.
Yep.
And did in box office, and overall what the gross was. So
obviously, a lot more than $114,000.
Yeah.
Which was the budget.
Yeah.
But maybe not right away.
Yeah. I think it did a lot after the hype came up. So it was they obviously made profit from it.
Yeah.
And
what's a little hard for me to believe, and I guess, watching the movie now, it's in black and white. I think we're just so desensitized these days that for Roger Ebert to say, "Oh, these kids are running out crying, they were in tears," I'm sort of like, what? It's not that bad. But I guess today we've seen all this stuff on film and movies that have just that desensitize us. Maybe back then, obviously back then it was leader in the genre, and zombies weren't really a thing. Yeah. George Romero pretty much created the zombie as we know it today.
Yeah, for George Romero inspired the genre of zombies from this film. Now there's conventions of people dressing up like zombies. Yeah. There's The Walking Dead, and there's actually the lady on the documentary who produced The Walking Dead, and she was saying so herself. So it's spawned a new genre of zombies.
Yeah, the zombie's right there behind the vampire and werewolf. It's just as common. And although there were some undead beings in films before, there was not really the modern day definition of the zombie as we know it until Night of the Living Dead. So
yeah, and now there's teachers in New York that are teaching kids.
Yeah, I thought that was
zombie literature.
I thought that was a little ridiculous.
Yeah,
on the documentary we watched, they interviewed a guy who's like teaching a class
of like 8 to 10-year-olds, 9-year-olds.
But they watched Night of the Living Dead, and he's having them like learn zombie do's and don'ts and culture, and claiming that they're learning literacy through that. And I guess they are.
Through Night of the Living Dead.
That's fine. I just think it's sort of weird. That's all. I'd love to go to that school.
Yeah. How does a zombie walk? Yeah. The zombie does not smile, and they're like walking around.
How do you kill the zombie? You have to shoot it in the head. What do you have to do? You have to stab it right in the brain.
And then you see these kids walking around like zombies, making zombie sounds. Like, what the hell?
They're gonna be messed up when they're older.
They are. They're gonna go home and like shoot their dog in the head or something. That's fucked up.
Yeah,
that was funny through the documentary.
So yeah, I guess it did create this. Kids running, crying from the theaters. I guess I was just too busy. If I was at the theater at that age, maybe they were little kids.
Yeah,
because I'm thinking like 13 when all I cared about the theater was putting my hand on a girl's leg.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Which that's all we did. We put the hand on the girl's leg. We didn't really go to first base and kiss her and do the smooching. But if you put her hand up her leg and rubbed her leg for like 10 minutes, you were cool.
Oh, if you just keep going higher. I remember the night. I can distinctly remember the first time I hit the jackpot on the leg thing. I mean, when you go so high that you eventually get there.
Yeah.
And then you just don't know what the fuck to do because you're 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
I don't know if that ever happened to you.
Oh, it did.
When I was in the theater, I literally remember in the movie theater with first with
yeah, I know
first
who
girlfriend.
you're talking about.
I won't name names just in case. We're still
Just
friends.
in case, yeah.
But I'm like, oh, I'm so cool. I got my
You know who
hand
you
on her
are.
leg. She has like short shorts on.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm so cool. I got
It's
my
always
hand
good
on
when
her
they wear
leg.
shorts.
And so I just kept going higher and kept going higher. I was like, oh yeah, hand on the leg. I'm going higher. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck is
You kept
this?
going higher and you found a little surprise
And
there.
I was like, this is very wet and very weird.
Harry?
I was like, I don't know if it was that. We were so young, but I was
Yeah.
like, what in the fuck?
Oh my God.
And I just kind of messed with it for a little while.
Then
And she
you
just
knew.
sat there watching the movie, just like nothing was happening.
Then you knew.
I'm like, holy Lord.
Yep.
I've stumbled upon something here.
Literally stubbles.
Wow.
Yeah, if you got a good leg rub for like 15 minutes or longer, you were cool. You told your friends about it. Dude, I rubbed her leg for like 10 minutes.
And then I remember like the first time it was probably the same day, went down south, with her hand on me, and then you're just like, and I guess maybe some guys enjoy this, but back in the day when you're like 13 to 15, you're getting your very first touching of the penis by a female, and they're like going all hardcore on it, and you're like, fuck, that hurts.
Yeah, God.
You're like, oh God, put some lotion on your hand. They're like,
or if
yeah.
they do it through your jeans, that's even worse.
They're like,
God
yeah,
damn.
you like that? And you're like,
No, I do not like that.
but you don't want to say that because you're at least getting some action.
Yeah.
So you're like, yeah, it's lovely. You're like, oh, fuck.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How we even get on this topic?
I
This is
don't know.
great.
I can't deal with it.
Yeah, that was bad. Or even like blue balls when you did like dry humping. That was the worst too.
Yeah.
You'd like cut your thing open on your zipper or just scratch marks. God.
All right. Well, maybe not all of us had that problem.
Yeah. You'd get like the clay hand in Night of the Living Dead.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I think
Anyways,
that wraps up our Night of the Living Dead
this is,
talk.
I remember watching this movie when I was just like 7 or 8 years ago, and I watched it all the way through, and I remembered it. I was like, this was a great movie. I mean, obviously there were some parts that, it was low budget. There was parts where you could see that was non-professional and stuff, but it was a great movie for its time.
Yeah, it still is a good movie. It's a classic.
That's why it's so big today. So.
Well, cool. That concludes our episode. Join us next week where we will continue through George Romero's movies. And I'm not going to promise that we're going to get to all of them. We're just going to get to
some
of the classics, our favorites. And then once we've beat the dead horse, we'll move on to the next segment or theme. So
that's right.
Stick with us. Make sure to check us out at cultclassichorror.com. Participate in the horror halftime so you can be horror freak of the week. And cool. We'll see you guys next week.
See you next week, guys.
Don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
Oh, yes. There will be blood.